Hey there, it's me again with another big pile of comics. I've got this pile from the top shelf, which is sitting on top of this big box. Now, I actually did this video already. I made this video, put it all together, and then accidentally deleted it, thinking I'd already uploaded it to YouTube for later release. And I hadn't. I deleted it. I tried to get a program to recover it from my deleted files. No joy whatsoever. Even though I ran a scan 3 times, it took about 3 hours each time for the scan to run. It couldn't find a peep of it, even though it was the most recent thing deleted. It couldn't find a even smidgen of it. So I'm doing this whole video again, which means that my blog that I'd already had written out about today's look at the comics, it's going to make no sense because I say things on there which relate to the first video that I did. I'm not going to bother changing that blog now, so I'm just going to do the video again, and if I can remember anything that I said on the first take on the video, I'll say it again. But it doesn't really matter. All the facts are up there about the comics that I could be bothered to look up for you. So go and have a look at the blog, the link's on down below, and let's have a look at this box of comics there and start counting them. Okay, so top of the pile we have some Batman and the Outsiders. These are the 2007 run of the well-known characters. Batman joined the Outsiders a couple of times over the years, didn't he? Where he got disillusioned with the Justice League and formed his own team. Yeah. I think halfway through this run, this is when we had the Batman R.I.P. Story where we thought Batman had been killed by Darkseid, I believe. Was it Darkseid or was it Black Mask? I can't remember. There was a bit. I think it was a Grant Morrison thing. It got a bit confusing to me, to be honest. I think he was being fated to die in one way, and then he got killed another way, but then he wasn't actually killed. I kind of forget about it now. It wasn't the most memorable of storylines. Bit convoluted. I think it was a Grant Morrison one, and I always find him to be hit and miss as far as I'm concerned. I find his superhero stuff to be less interesting to me. Some of the stuff is outside the superhero scope is pretty cool, like the Invisibles, for example. But I don't know, for some reason when he does superheroes, to me, he's just confusing. But anyway, let's just look at these covers. Don't know who the cover artist is. I never know even the well-known cover artists, I can never work out who they are. Here we go, R.I.P. So this is around about the time that Batman dies. And it gets a bit confusing because it goes obviously from being Batman and the Outsiders, and with Batman no longer being around, eventually it's going to change just to be called the Outsiders. Any minute now, I think. Let's have a look. Here you go. There's a Batman and the Outsiders special one-shot. I think that's just in there because it just ties in with the month. So February 09 is number 14. And then there's a one shot in March 09. And then from April, it goes back into just the Outsiders. So maybe that's what that issue is. Maybe that's a crossover issue between Batman and the Outsiders becoming just Outsiders. Some cool covers actually. Geo-Force and Black Lightning. Who's been watching the Black Lightning TV show? I think it's pretty cool personally. I'm enjoying it. I'd like to see him in the costume he's got there on the comic, but these things they try and make them more realistic, don't they, on the TV shows. I'm still enjoying it though, and he's got his daughters in it as well. They were quite new characters. I think they were introducing this Outsiders story arc actually, because we never even knew about him having daughters before, did we? Before this story came along, and then suddenly he's got 2 superhero. Well, I think they just start at them and they get their powers. So I can't remember this run. This is Owlman, but Owlman I always thought was a villain from another dimension, Earth 2 or something. I thought it was an alternate Earth Batman, but maybe Batman gave this guy the Owlman costume from the other guy. I'm not too sure. So with this Outsiders run, it ends up again, I think, when Batman comes back to life again. Here we have Creeper. I've talked about it before, about the Eclipso story, the old Eclipso comic, and a couple of the characters got killed by Eclipso, so Creeper was one of them. I think he was the only one who came back to life again. I've been slowly piecing it together as I've been going from my comics. It was the second Dr. Midnight got killed as well, the female Dr. Midnight. Can't remember what her name was now, Beth or something. Peacemaker. An old character from Charlton Comics, he died as well in that crossover. Yeah, he never come back to life. Actually, but it has been a kind of character of the same name has been used in more up-to-date Blue Beetle comics. I think Jaime Reyes has come across a character calling himself Peacemaker. Slightly different to the Charlton one, which obviously the Charlton one was the influence behind the comedian Alan Moore did with the Watchmen, using all the old Charlton characters that had just come into DC's possession at that time, back in the late 80s, I believe. There's Looker there, vampire. There's a new character they brought in called Freight Train. More powerful than a locomotive. Will he save the team or destroy them? I think he starts off trying to destroy them, but ends up joining them, I believe. I can never work out that guy is Chemo or Chemo. Is he Chemo or Chemo? Does it matter? Probably not. The Creeper, Beware the Beast. That's a pretty cool cover. He's flashing his teeth, but I think he wins in the flashing of the teeth showdown. I think that's Manhunter, isn't it? It's, I don't know, fourth, third, I don't know, quite a late, because there's quite a few Manhunters over the years in DC Comics. I'm pretty sure she's Manhunter. Geoforce, is that the Olympian he's fighting there from the, is it Guardian? Not the Guardians of the Galaxy. The European, I think they're just called the Guardians, the European superhero team. I think they were just called the Guardians. No, Global Guardians, that's it, the Global Guardians. That's what they were called. Drawing the line at $2.99. Bloody hell, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money if you ask me. Reign of Doomsday, I don't even remember this one. Outsiders versus Outsiders. What's going on here then? There's that Freight Train guy. He obviously joined half of the Outsiders anyway in this comic. Vanquished by Veritas. And then finally the last one of the run comes back to being Batman and the Outsiders again. The war is over. Now the Outsiders belong to me. And that cover, if you ask me, is a bit of a throwback to the cover where he first gets the Outsiders on board. He's facing off against the Justice League, and he's saying, no longer with you guys, these are my new team, or something like that. But it's a similar kind of layout to the way they're standing there. But obviously a bit of an updated version of it. Right, so next up on the pile, La Free's Christmas Special, the Orange Lantern, representing avarice and greed. Next up, we have Ion. Ion, I think, is it the fourth Green Lantern? Kyle Rayner. He took on the Green Lantern battery. I think the Green Lantern battery held Parallax, the fear avatar, and whatever the willpower avatar was called, I think became Ion, or took over Kyle Rayner into his body and gave him the powers of Ion, like a godlike level of power. I think it happened first of all in the Green Lantern book with Kyle Rayner, and then later after Hal Jordan came back as the Green Lantern for our sector, he regained the Ion power for a while before passing it on to a Daxamite Green Lantern called Sodam Yat, I believe. It's not so impressive now because I've looked these up more recently. I was quite surprised in the first one of the video that I did. I actually remember the number of our sector. Our space sector in the Green Lantern Corps is 2814. I think I've remembered it right this time, but I just plucked it out of my head like last time I did the video, and I was like, is that right? And I couldn't remember what I said. And then I remembered it again, what I'd said, and it turned out it was right. We are sector 2814. And I was quite impressed with myself there. The other thing I did in the other video, which I may lapse into again here, is I always say the Green Lantern Corps, because that's how I read it as a kid. It was Green Lantern Corps. It's C-O-R-P-S. That's corpse. That spells corpse. No, it spells core, apparently, for reasons I am totally unfamiliar with. I know the English language is quite a strange beast, and we do some strange things in the English language, but I can't see why C-O-R-P-S doesn't say corpse. It says core, but there you go. Sticking with Green Lantern, we have some Tales of Sinestro Corps. Is it Sinestro or Sinestro? You decide, I don't care. One of the others, definitely one of the other. Sinestro, whatever. Right, so there's Superman Prime, Parallax, The Fall of Kyle Rayner? I don't think so. I think he survives and becomes Ion, actually. Cyborg Superman? Bruce. We don't like him. Oh yeah, and then Ion. There we go. A new beginning. So I'm wondering if these comics came before. Actually, looking at the date on the Ion comics, they're from 2007, and this one's from 2008. So maybe this is where Kyle Rayner passes on the Ion powers over to that Sodam Yat, the Daxamite Green Lantern. Could be. More Green Lantern and Sinestro Corps from that era. From 2007 again. Green Lantern Sinestro Corps Special. I said Corps again, didn't I? Sinestro Corps Special. Forgive me my vocal faux pas. Green Lantern Sinestro Corps Secret Files and Origins. That's from February 08, and this one's from August 07. So there's a few months scan between them, including bios of over 200 lanterns. Ooh, interesting. Green Lantern Secret Files and Origins 2005. Looks like a book with lots of different people chipping into it, so I'm assuming there's lots of different stories in that one. Then we have Guy Gardner, Collateral Damage. I think Gnaut, is it Gnaut, the dog-like foolish Green Lantern member? I think they bribed their way to get him into the Green Lantern Corps, something like that. Anyway, he approaches his Guy Gardner to try and help mediate in the Ran-Thanagar War. And knowing what a bull in the china shop Guy Gardner is, I'm pretty sure, like I say, Collateral Damage, things obviously go a bit pear-shaped, I'm sure. Another interesting two-parter, JLA and Hitman. Now, we spoke about the Bloodlines heroes and villains before. Bloodlines was an annual event where aliens came down like parasites and sucked the spinal fluid of humans, killing most of them, but every now and again one of them would have the mutagene that would allow them to have superpowers. And Hitman was probably the most used of those. He was kind of like his comic was quite comedic, actually. I think it was Garth Ennis, I think, did the story on it. It was very quite a lot of fun. He originally appeared in the Demon annual of that year, which was a book that I collected, and yeah, pretty cool comic. This is a bit of a fun take, obviously the JLA being all serious, and Tommy Monaghan, Hitman, being a bit of a bit of a bit of a character. Let's call him that, shall we? Okay, we've got Justice now, a 12-parter, I believe, with awesome cover art by Alex Ross, and I think most of the inside art as well as by him. And I can't believe I was umming and ahhing who about Garth Ennis' name. It was actually written on the comic book a minute ago. I must remember to actually read what it says on the comic book. It kind of helped with my bad memory. Right, so let's just do these side by side so you get a better look at some of the artwork. Some really cool stuff that he does. Very realistic art, Alex Ross. The characters just jump off the page, really cool. Look at that. There's Wonder Woman. I couldn't work out what that was behind her first of all. Was it Cheetah? Is that the name of her villain? One of her major villains. I think she's called Cheetah. Then Atom versus Poison Ivy, I imagine. Bit of an unusual matchup. Not one I'd expect. There's Hawkman being Hawkman. Except he's using an axe. Normally I expect to see him with a mace, but yeah, he's got an axe. He can bust out any weapon he likes. There's Flash about to take down Captain Cold, and I'm not too sure what's going on here, but it looks like Black Adam has got the upper hand against Captain Marvel, Shazam, and because these two friends, Mary Marvel and is it Marvel Boy or Marvel Jr., seem to be taking Black Adam's side. That's not good. I'm quite looking forward to the Shazam movie, actually. I think it's going to be quite cool. I mean, it's a different tone to a lot of the DC Universe movies, but it don't matter. They haven't all got to be the bloody same thing. It's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting. I look forward to seeing that. Also, aren't they doing a Black Adam movie as well? We're talking about a Black Adam movie with The Rock for ages, haven't they? I'm not sure what's going on there. Are they going to do both of them and then maybe make a third movie where they face off against each other? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, pretty cool covers on this book. or these books should I say. Next up we have J.L. Ape, which was an annual run that went through a few of the titles, mainly Superman and Justice League, I believe. Actually, I think it was actually all the Justice League characters. So in 1999, they mostly get turned into apes. If you look at those covers there, Batman as an ape, he looks quite fun. He's like, what the heck's going on here then? He's got a very quizzical look on his face there. But there's some cool covers, I've got to say. This one is no longer an ape. Aquaman as an ape. It must be quite hard to swim with that shaggy fur all over you. Guerrilla warfare. And then Ape Wonder Woman. Oh dear. How did they manage to make a gorilla look feminine? I don't know. She does look quite feminine though, in a way. Chimp Pulse. That made me laugh. Max Monkey and Chimp Pulse. Oh dear. Monkeys of Steel. Is that Metallo? Is he the one with the kryptonite heart? But he's a gorilla version versus a gorilla Superman. And then we have Gorilla Green Lantern Corps. That's no good because they might be allergic to bananas because they can't stand the colour yellow. At least they didn't used to be able to anyway. And finally, Martian Manhunter. Mind you, he's a shapeshifter anyway, so he could shift into whatever shape he wanted. So being turned into a gorilla shouldn't really affect him, should it? He'd just be like, okay, I'm going to turn myself back into Martian Manhunter. Right, now we have a little Vertigo 4-part sword and sorcery kind of adventure called Battle Axes. A group of female warriors hiring out their swords and axes to the highest bidder kind of thing. That wasn't a bad little story. Nothing brilliant though. There's a slightly Lovecraftian god, demon in it, which makes it quite fun. These are back from 2000, so not as far as I know they've not had another run. But yeah, they weren't bad. Right, this is the first non-DC or Marvel book, I believe. Dark Horse Comics Body Bags. Now, when I actually got this out of the packet, I actually got sellotape on the cover and moved the cover down about a grade or two by removing some of the ink. But luckily, I don't think this is a very popular book, so I don't think I've lost that too badly there. Its characters are called Happy Face, I think, or Smile Face. I think it's Happy. I can't remember now. I only wrote the blog about it last week, and I've forgotten already. Happy Face and Panda, her name is, father and daughter hitman team. Body baggers, what they're called. That's why it's called body bags, because they bag bodies basically. Yeah, there's not a bad little comic. Bit of violence, yeah, bit of mindless fun really. Another Vertigo 4-parter, Cruel and Unusual, Low Morals and High Voltage. I've not reread it again, but from what I remember writing about it, it's like a jail, but they're short on money, so they decide to sort of turn jails into prisons, into reality TV shows. Too hot for jail TV. Yeah, so it's like live executions and all that kind of stuff, and turned it into a bit of a game show. I might have to see if I can read it again. Is that Jamie Delano? I think he did a bit of Hellblazer at one point, I believe. McRae's good artist, if that's the one I'm thinking of. But anyway, another Image short run here, 3-part of this one. Robert Kirkman, quite a well-known name nowadays. Did Invincible, and he did The Walking Dead, didn't he? This is a little, basically the capes, a bit like the top 10, an Alan Moore book. It's like a sort of, well, in that one they were a police force, and this is the same thing basically. It's like a caped police force. So if you look at all the covers, a little help please, no can do pal, I've got 10 minutes left on my break, is what he said. No, stop hitting him, his shift is over. So it's all kind of jokes like that. Where it's like in this one, the final scene here, he's taking a good pounding and he's saying, disability, here I come. So he's counting his early retirement. Bit daft, but quite fun. Now we've got a little 5-parter. Dead Again, Dead Man. And I think in each one of these, you're kind of visiting the death of superheroes in the past. So number 1 is A Crisis in Hand, where obviously Barry Allen, Flash, dies in that one. I remember that one for me. I was when I was a young'un. Yeah, quite emotional that was, because I used to like Barry Allen. I used to like The Flash. It's one of the books that I collected back in the day. Not seriously, but that's around the time I started seriously collecting. But when I think I saw him dead, it was, oh no, that's The Flash I used to read when I was a kid. I liked him. And then we got The Family Funeral, Death in the Family, the old one where people got to vote to whether Robin died or not. And no spoilers are needed, but there he is dead. And then, of course, Superman died as well at one point, didn't he? We had to say farewell to Superman at one point. And that's really, you can see by that picture, that's really cut old dead man up a bit, isn't it? And then Hal Jordan obviously became Parallax, and he died, didn't he? He got taken out finally. I can't remember, I think it was Green Arrow took him out in the end. I can't remember though, if I'm getting my stories mixed up. It kind of makes sense for his good friend Green Arrow to put the final arrow in his heart. I think that's what happened. And then Life After Death. Then again, I think this may well be when Hal Jordan becomes Spectre. I'm assuming, because he does become Spectre, so maybe that's what happens. Maybe he's walking him through his afterlife kind of thing, and he said, look, you've been bad, but you've done lots of good in your life as well, so you don't deserve to go to hell or whatever. You're going to be in a bit of a limbo for a while. You're going to be the Spectre, God's vengeance. And I think that's what happened. And then after him, I can't remember if it was before him or after. I think after him it must have been Crispus Allen that became the Spectre, who was the cop partner of Renee Montoya, who eventually became the Question. We've got another little Dead Man run here from 2002. Dead Man got his own book for a while. I can't remember what this story one was about. Decent art though. It's a nice cover by Mike Mignola. Weird art he's got, but it's kind of evocative, isn't it? I feel looks for some reason that reminds me of H.P. Lovecraft for some reason, because there's one about the Sphinx, isn't there? But trapped under the pyramids, where he encounters the Sphinx. I don't know. It just brings me that to mind for some reason. There's another Mignola. How do people pronounce that? I can't pronounce it for toffee. I get the feeling it should be a silent G for some reason. Mignola. I don't know. Only 40p? Blimey. No, that's probably the wrong. Yeah, probably got stuck on the plastic. It probably wasn't on the comics. Probably cost more than that, I should think. So there's a 9-part of that one. So that Dead Man, I'm assuming it was a 9-part. I only had 9 issues there anyway. I wouldn't have thought I would have stopped to get the whole run. Right now we have a 6-parter, Rose and Fawn from 2004, written by Gail Simone. Pretty good writer from what I've read of her. 1, 2... Yeah, Rose and Fawn. It's been used a few times actually, Rose and Fawn. I think there's been at least 2 lots of characters. She's quite an old character actually. I didn't realise how old she was. She goes all the way back to Justice Society of America. Because I didn't remember this at all, but the original Rose, because Fawn is kind of like her alter ego. She's just like split personality, I suppose. So by day she's Rose, or Roseanne, I think, on this version. And by night she becomes Fawn, who is, as you can see, a little bit of a crazy character, a little bit not to be messed with. But back in the Justice Society of America, she's the mother of Green Lantern's children. Jade and Obsidian. Yeah, interesting. I'd forgot all about that. I wouldn't have known it now, but I did the blog. Okay, another Image comic by quite a big name. Mark Millar Wanted. A 6-parter. They made a film out of it, which wasn't based that much on the actual books themselves. Just loosely, I would say. Do you remember the film Wanted, where there's a League of Assassins? I think the guy who plays the main character is the same actor who plays a young Magneto in some of the X-Men films later on. But yeah, it wasn't a bad movie. not as good as the books though. But saying that, those books were cool, really cool when I first read them. But when I come back to read them again, they weren't quite so. Because I kind of suppose because I remembered some of the stuff maybe, so it didn't seem quite as fun as the first time I read it. But yeah, pretty cool books though. And so Mark Millar, I'm not sure if this is from. It doesn't say what year on the book, but they're quite 03, I think, because it says 03 on this one. But mind you, this one says 04. But mind you, there's a big gap between number 5 and 6. Number 5 came out in October. Number 6 came out in February. I'm assuming it's one of those ones where they had a big. I don't know though. It seems to be a strange run of books. 3 and 4 came out in April and July, and 1 and 2 came out in December and February. So they weren't running very well in monthly on a monthly basis. But yeah, quite cool books. Next up we have Emperor Joker. That was another, I can't think it was annuals, or no, I don't think it was annuals. I think you just ran across a few of the Superman titles mainly. Basically, Joker gets the powers of Mixomatosis, whatever his name is, that little 7th dimensional elf or imp, or 7th dimensional, 8th dimensional, I don't know, 6th dimensional. Yeah, and he gives these powers to Joker, which would obviously be a recipe for disaster. And the reign of Emperor Joker, brings much turmoil to the DC universe. I think basically he just chooses different ways to kill Batman every day. And Superman realises the world is not right and manages to put it correctly in the end. I mean, how do you get Mr. Mixomatosis, whatever his name is, to say his name backwards? Yeah. That's good old silly comicness from the back in the golden age, I think. Okay, now we have some Deadshot. It's a 5-parter. I believe in this one, this is where Deadshot discovers he's got a daughter, and he doesn't really want to have contact with her. He wants to clean up the city where she lives, the part of the city where she lives, so it's she has a better quality of life. I think this is the issue where he decided to give him a reason to live, because he already had this suicide desire, didn't he, almost? I was just thinking about that Mr. Mixomatosis, whatever his name is. It reminded me of that Wanted comic I was looking at a second ago. Well, the good thing about that is it had loads of like parodies of supervillains in it. So you had like a parody of Clayface, who was made entirely of human excrement, of the 666th most villainous people ever, or something like that. Then there was like a Two-Face kind of parody. It's a bloke who was like basically a normal everyday good guy, but his manly equipment had its own brain that made him do evil deeds. So that was one of the ones. And also there was a parody of the 7th dimensional imp or whatever it was. That's just reminded me of that. And also there was a Bizarro parody in it as well. Okay, next up we've got some prestige looking books. Dr. Midnight, the old Justice Society of America. I think this is the 3rd iteration of that character. I think Charles McNider, I believe, was the Golden Age version, the Justice Society of America version. Then there was the woman who got killed by Eclipso. I think her name was Beth Chapel or something like that. And then we got this guy whose name I can't remember now. He's got like a Danish kind of name. I can't remember what it is though. So that's Dr. Midnight. Pretty cool character. Never had his own book, I don't think. Not apart from mainly appeared in Justice Society of America. But I think this may be the only time he ever got his own book. And I think that's Matt Wagner did this. I think he's the guy who did the Sandman Mystery Theatre that I did a couple of videos back. So he kind of must like the old Justice Society of America characters, the old, old school early hero characters. Back to some more Vertigo. We have Unknown Soldier. This character's been around for quite a long time. He used to be in the old weird war tales and that kind of thing. But as time's gone on, this is Garth Ennis writing this one again. He's got darker and become less patriotic, and that just become a bit more sort of realistic, a bit more gritty, I suppose you would call it. Back in the day, it was just about killing Nazis during World War II. Now it's all about undercover CIA operations in the Middle East and stuff like that. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Right, next up we have a book, The Monolith. can't really remember it, but I did a little bit of research for my blog, and yeah, basically he's a golem. I kind of thought he was a golem when I was looking at it, and I couldn't tell if it was because I remembered him being a golem from when I read it in the past, or whether it's just the fact he looks like a golem. What else could he possibly be? So golem, not golem. Completely different things, don't get mixed up. Sanctuary for a demon. I don't know if that's the demon Etrigan. I might have to check through that again, because I do like a bit of demon Etrigan in a book. He is fun. And then the monolith stalks Gotham City. So who does he come across? Of course, the Batman. Anyone who goes into Gotham is going to find the Batman, aren't they? Yeah, because the character is normally around New York. Because the golem is based on Jewish folklore, and there's a large Jewish community, I think, in New York. Okay, unfortunately, the monolith didn't prove that popular, and I think it only ran for 12 issues. I think I read as well that the rights to the character passed back over to Jimmy Palmiotti. I think, yeah, because the DC didn't use him, so now the creator, I think, has got the full rights to the character. I don't know if that means we'll ever see him again in the future, but I don't think he did well enough for that to happen. You never know, though. And these books were back from 2005. Right, now, interestingly, in the same box, I don't know if it was just coincidence or what, but we have Ragman, who is also somehow based on the golem folklore of Jewish folklore, and it was a bit confusing to me because I remember as I got the books out, I sort of remember his name being Regan. Pretty sure his name was Regan, and I was thinking he was an Irish superhero, like a Irish background to the character. But then I thought to myself, no, actually, I'm sure he's got a Jewish background, and I got a bit confused. And it turns out he started off as an Irish character, and they rewrote him basically as a Jewish character. So like after, I don't know, the Crisis or something like that. Now this is an 8-part miniseries, and for some reason I'm missing 3 and 4. I don't know what happened there. So we've got 1, 2, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I've got 6 parts of an 8-part miniseries. I've no idea what happened there. Of course he goes to Gotham, and who does he bump into? We know it, Batman. Of course he does. Right, more Ragman. Cry of the Dead. Joe Kubert cover there. I think he actually created the character. I can't remember now. Have a look in the blog. It'll probably be in the blog. I think he may have created the character. That's basically all I do in the blog anyway. Just say who created it, when they were created, when they first appeared, that kind of thing. Because that's the kind of thing people want to know about, I reckon. At least I've got all 6 parts of this 6-parter. It's annoying I've only got 6 parts of that 8-parter though. I have no idea what happened there. Wonder if the other 2 books are somewhere in my collection. There you go, the Ragman getting torn to pieces there. His costume's getting torn to pieces by children. And if I recall, every rag on the Ragman's costume represents a soul that he's taken. Because when it was retro written, it became a magic suit rather than just a patchwork suit. Alright, next up a character I couldn't find a great deal of information about. I don't think DC have killed him off yet. They may well have done. The Butcher. Native American person. John Butcher, I think his name is. He's kind of adept with knives and hand-to-hand combat, and I don't think he's got any superpowers. Seems to be quite into using weapons as well, like guns. He's got guns in at least a couple of these pictures. There you go, these are from 1990, these ones. There we have the Butcher again in a Brave and the Bold team up. We've got Green Arrow, the Butcher and the Question. I don't think the question is pictured there, because they all seem to have faces. As most of you should know, the question doesn't have a face. He does, but it's hidden behind his mask, which is, yeah, there he is, with no face. Basically his face is obscured by his mask. It's quite a cool costume actually. Yeah, it has some kind of gas that reacts with particles in this like mask, that visible mask that he has, I think, and the clothes that he wears, and it changes the colour of them. Basically, it's quite clever. Don't fall over. Obviously something going on in a login place by the looks of it. We have, yeah, there's a piece dicing quite dangerously there, old Green Arrow, lying on the log going through a circular saw whilst being shot at. I don't know about you, but my money would be on the guys with the guns in that situation. I can only see him taking out one of those before he gets chopped to pieces by that or shot by their bullets. But he's Green Arrow, I'm sure he finds a way. And there we go. The Butcher, Green Arrow, and the question. Before the question died and was replaced by Renee Montoya. Okay, next up we have another one of those Bloodlines characters. Like Hitman, this is one of the only other ones I think that got a fairly decent run of comic books. Gunfire, his name was. His powers, he could, I don't know, agitate the molecules in things that he held in his hands. No, it wasn't more than that. He had to pick up things to channel his blasting power through it, but what happened was it channeled his blasting power through an item for a while, and then it would melt, like he'd agitated the molecules and it sort of just destroyed itself. It was an interesting character. I quite liked him. I quite enjoyed this run of books. Len Wein was the writer. Pretty cool. But like most of the Bloodlines characters, when DC Comics needed someone to kill off, he didn't actually kill him off though. They didn't kill him off, they just chopped off his hands. I think Superboy Prime chopped his hands off. Interesting villain, the Exomorphic Man. And the Mirror Master there making a nuisance of himself. And the last one of these comics, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Right. Now I am missing one. There was a Zero. Remember there was a run of Zero titles, and I don't seem to have the Gunfire Zero. Although I saw the cover of it and it looked familiar, so I'm wondering if I've got it somewhere else in my collection, and it's become somehow unassociated, lost from those. But I'll have to. Hopefully, it will turn up as I do the rest of my comics. Okay, now we have a suggested for mature readers. DC book 1 of 4, Mr. E. Is a blind, enigmatic, sort of, I don't know, supernatural character. During the Books of Magic, you may recall, there's that Timothy Hunter who was destined to become the biggest or most powerful magician in DC Universe. I'm not sure if he's still currently being used or not. He was one of the guys who was meant to teach him, but he ends up seeing him and thinking he's going to be evil, he's going to be responsible for some massive calamity in the future, so he tries to kill him. Yeah. And we go from the darkness of Mr. E to the light-hearted quirkiness of Angel and the Ape. They're back, but who are they? Who are they? Where are they? I can't even read. They're back, but who are they? What are they now? It's Angel and the Ape, is who it is. They're basically a private detective duo. And apparently Ape is also a comic book artist, I believe. And in this run, I think it turns out that his grandfather is Gorilla Grodd. I don't think he was originally. And this blonde-haired lady, I think it's called Dumb Bunny. Yeah. She's from another team, I can't remember what they're called though. Like a little bit of a joke superhero team. Okay, here's one I mentioned earlier on. Peacemaker. 60p they cost. $1.25. 4-part miniseries from 1988. I think this is when he just came over from Charlton Comics. Carlton, I'm probably saying it wrong, I don't know. The Peacemaker. Went a bit doolally, I think. Went a bit mad later on. And eventually got killed fighting Eclipso. But I think there's been, or different versions of it been used, and it's still currently being used, I believe, in the new Blue Beetle comics. Because obviously Blue Beetle Peacemaker came over from the same old comic book company, didn't they? Charlton. Next we have a very sad sight. It's the Challenges of the Unknown comic without a cover. I've got no idea what number it is. I don't know what happened to the cover. It wasn't worth anything, even with the cover in pristine condition. I wouldn't have thought it would have been worth anything. But still, it's sad to see a book without a cover. It's strange. And when they've got a fairly, well, quite recent, no, it's not really recent, it's a long while ago actually, but for Challenges of the Unknown it's fairly recent. It's 1991, but I think there was one, or maybe it might have been two actual Challenges of the Unknown books after this. But these are the original sort of challenges, but like revisited supposedly after a long while in the comics, and they were kind of like world renowned, but a disaster strikes in this one, and yeah, the team have to try and sort it out. But I think since then, Challenges of the Unknown have been rebooted a couple of times, but with a different team. But what I mean, this is the original team. They go back quite a long way, this team. You have to go and have a look in the blog to see what when it first started up. Right, so I think this is an 8-parter, and for once I have all the parts. And normally I do have all the parts. There's just that one off in the Ragman where I had 2 books missing, annoyingly. Yeah, I didn't find these books that interesting, I've got to admit. I remember reading them at the time thinking these are a bit of a chore to read actually. They weren't like the usual superhero fare. Right at the bottom of the box, the very last load of comics in this box, Night Force from 1996 by Marv Wolfman. I think this is about the 3rd time I think Night Force has been revisited. I might have been another one after this, I can't remember now. But basically, it's this guy here, Baron Winters, in his Wintergate house, I think his house is. He's not allowed to leave it for some reason, some magical reason. Maybe it keeps him alive or immortal whenever when he's inside it. But basically, he has to rally normal people together to fight deadly forces. So it's kind of like a non-superpowered shadow pact or something like that, like led by Baron Winters. Quite interesting books. Some chilling kind of encounters that they had. In this one, there was something called the Weirdverse that was going for a little while in DC Comics. I can't remember the name of the book. I think Scare Tactics was one of the books. It was like a band, like a rock band with like mummy, a werewolf, a vampire. Yeah, so a little bit on the dark side. But that's what they converge with them. This convergence was a 4-parter between the 4 books in the Weirdverse. I can't remember the other 2 books now. I don't think it was Swamp Thing, I don't think so. But yeah. I think I've got the whole run of this one. Yeah. 12 books. Yeah. And that is everything in that box. It's the second time I've done this video, so some of the things I say in this may not tally up to the blog, which I wrote after doing the first video before accidentally deleting it. Hopefully I won't delete any more videos, because I've had a bit of disaster. I've only had 4 videos, and once I had one, the camera's not running. But I've gone over to just one camera now, so I won't make that mistake again. But let's just hope I don't delete any more videos before I put them on YouTube. Anyway, cheers for watching. Please leave comments, any thoughts on any of the comics that I've looked at, any ideas on how to make the videos more interesting, or yeah, anything. Just give us a like. Anyway, I'll be back next week. Cheers.